Stop running from sadness. As long as you treat it as an enemy, it will continue to chase you. Most people hide it behind forced laughter, cheap distractions, or empty phrases like, "it will pass." That's the trap. Ignoring it only makes it grow silently until it becomes unbearable. Sadness is not here to destroy you, but to point out what you don't want to face. If you don't give it a place, it ends up taking over everything. Stoicism teaches that we don't suffer so much for what happens, but for the story we build about what happened. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that the mind is dyed the color of its thoughts. The problem is not just life's blow, but how you decide to interpret it. That's where sadness finds space to become an eternal burden. If you change your perspective, you discover that it's not a punishment, but an uncomfortable teacher bringing a message you need to hear. Stop seeking comfort in excuses. The pain you feel points to an attachment that dominates you, an unrealistic expectation, or a wound you've ignored for too long. Silencing it is like covering a fire alarm with your hands. The noise stops, but the fire is still there. The only real way out is to face it, understand what it wants to show you, and use it as fuel for your own growth. This is not a space for pretty phrases or victimhood. We're going to talk about emotional discipline, about concrete habits to regain control of the mind and the strength of character. Sadness can be fleeting, but if you learn to read it, it becomes the signal that pushes you to rebuild yourself from within. Here begins that work, serious, demanding, and without frills. Listen to your sadness without fighting it. Stop treating your sadness as an enemy to be defeated. What most people don't understand is that the more you fight against this emotion, the stronger it becomes. Sadness doesn't disappear by ignoring it, nor by forcing laughter, nor by filling your schedule with distractions. On the contrary, the more you repress it, the more it devours you from within. The Stoics knew that resisting the inevitable is to add suffering to suffering, because the initial pain is not chosen, but the mental torment you create from it is your responsibility. Think of sadness like the waves of the sea. You can yell at the waves to calm down, but that won't stop the water. What you can do is learn to stay afloat, to let the waves pass without sinking. The same happens with emotions. You don't have the power to prevent them from arising, but you can decide how you receive them. This is where Stoic work begins, recognizing what you feel, not to get stuck in it, but to understand what it came to show you. Epictetus said that we are not disturbed by the facts, but by the interpretation we make of them. If you feel sadness, it doesn't mean you're weak or that your life lacks meaning. It means that something inside you requires attention, perhaps an unresolved grief, a boundary you didn't set, a broken ideal. When you feel sad, instead of asking, "Why me?" you ask, "What is this showing me about myself?" This change of focus transforms the emotion into a tool for self-knowledge. Listening to your sadness doesn't mean surrendering to it. It means sitting with it as if it were an uncomfortable but important visitor. You can do this through a simple act like mindful breathing. Sit down, close your eyes, and allow the sensation of sadness to manifest in the body. The weight in the chest, the knot in the throat, the emptiness in the stomach. Name it without judging it. This is sadness. What's irrational is to pretend to live without them. Every time you try to escape from what you feel, you weaken. Every time you accept it, you strengthen. True serenity is not being free from emotions, but learning not to be dominated by them. Listening to sadness also involves giving yourself space for silence. Turn off the external noise, social media, excessive conversations, other people's opinions. Often you don't heal because you never give yourself the chance to be alone with what you feel. Silence is uncomfortable, but in that silence, you begin to hear what the emotion wants to tell you. Ask yourself, what part of my life needs attention? And what have I been avoiding? Sometimes, just with that honesty, the burden begins to become lighter. The first step to mastering emotions is not to ignore them, but to understand them. It's like knowing the terrain before crossing it. Only then do you know where to step. People look for quick solutions, motivational phrases, but that only numbs the pain for a few hours. The Stoics spoke of courage, not fleeting comforts. 2. Break the story that feeds your pain. What prolongs sadness the most is not the event that caused it, but the story you build around it. We all do it. An event occurs, and instead of letting it be, we start to narrate it over and over again with phrases that make it heavier. This always happens to me. I will never get out of here. Life took away what I loved the most. This repeated narration is like an invisible chain. The more you repeat it, the stronger it becomes. The Stoics understood that we cannot change the facts, but we can dismantle the narrative that turns them into an eternal torment. Think about this. The mind is like a theater, and you are the scriptwriter. Pain is the actor that makes its entrance, but the story you give it can turn it into an unstoppable monster or a character that comes and goes without staying. If you continue to feed the drama with thoughts that exaggerate, generalize, or put you in the role of a victim, the actor stays on stage indefinitely. Breaking that story is not denying the pain, it is taking away the script that keeps it alive. Seneca wrote that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. When you retell the event over and over again, you relive it every time you remember it. And not only do you relive it, you amplify it. The brain does not distinguish between what happens and what you imagine with enough emotion. Thus, what was a fact of the past becomes a wound that bleeds every day. To heal, you must disarm the narrative that fuels that suffering. How to do it? First, identify the phrases you repeat in your mind. Listen to them carefully. Are you saying always, never, nobody, everything? These absolute words are signs that your mind is building a story, not describing reality. Change. I always fail to I failed this time, but I can learn. Change. Nobody values me to. Some people did not value what I gave, but there are others who will. It's not self-deception, it's precision. Speaking with more truth reduces emotional weight. Second, stop telling it to everyone. Every time you recount the pain to someone else without a purpose of reflection, you not only keep it alive, you strengthen it. Talking can help to vent, but repeating without intention is watering the seeds of sadness. Ask yourself if you tell it to seek clarity or to stay trapped in the role of victim. If it's the latter, stop. Third, rewrite the ending. Yes, the event happened and you can't change it, but the story about what it means is in your hands. You can decide that it was a defeat or that it was the beginning of a transformation. Robin Sharma says that every adversity carries a seed of growth, but it only blooms when you choose to see it that way. You don't change the past, but you do change the power it has over your present. Breaking the story is not an act of magic, it's daily work. Every time you notice that your mind is recreating the same painful scene, stop the script and replace it with concrete facts. What really happened? What can I do today to move forward? Thus, little by little, the pain is left without a narrative to feed it. 3. Let go of attachment and live lighter. Most of the suffering does not come from the loss itself, but from the resistance to let go. We cling to people, to memories, to plans that no longer exist, and we carry all that weight as if it depended on us, that things would have been different. Attachment is an invisible rope that ties us to what is already gone, and sadness becomes the knot that reminds us daily that we continue to pull that rope, even though it is tearing our hands. The Stoics knew that the world never fully belongs to us. Epictetus said, "It is not the things that disturb us, but the opinion we have of them." Believing that we own what we love is a mistake that costs us dearly, because everything, people, places, moments, is borrowed by time. What you have today, tomorrow can change. When you accept this instead of clinging, you learn to appreciate and let go. Look around you. Everything you treasure, every relationship you value is destined to transform. The body ages, people change course, happy days pass. Pretending that something will be eternal only feeds frustration. Attachment is like carrying a backpack full of stones in the middle of a river. The more you squeeze, the less you can advance, and you end up sinking. Letting go does not mean to stop loving or to stop caring. It means recognizing that you cannot control the course of life and that it is not worth destroying your peace, trying to retain what is already in motion. Seneca advised training the mind not to depend on what is outside of our power. True control begins where attachment ends. A useful Stoic exercise is to practice detached gratitude. Each morning, choose something you value, an object, a person, a moment, and repeat to yourself that you could lose it tomorrow. Not to fill you with fear, but to remind you that you appreciate it precisely because it is temporary. This reminder teaches you to enjoy what you have without the constant fear of losing it and, at the same time, not to fall into the void when it inevitably changes. Attachment also feeds on the illusion that your happiness depends on what you possess or retain. But that illusion is a cage. Everything you need to feel good becomes a chain. Robin Sharma often says that true wealth lies in the ability to enjoy with less. The less you depend on the external for your peace, the freer you become. Detachment does not make you cold or indifferent. It makes you strong because there is no longer something that can be taken away to destroy you. Sadness is often the signal that something you loved is no longer there or will never be the same again. Resisting only prolongs the mourning. Accepting it returns serenity. Ask yourself what you are clinging to so tightly that it no longer has a place in your present. Perhaps it is a relationship that ended, a dream that did not turn out as you expected, an image of who you were before. Let it go, not to forget, but to make room for the new. Attachment is the weight that sinks you when you try to get out of the river. If you want to feel lighter, let the current take what no longer belongs to your shore. Learning to let go is learning to live with less fear and more freedom. And only when your hands are empty can you receive what is coming. 4. Cultivate gratitude in the small things. Sadness has a cruel ability. It makes everything that is still okay invisible. When pain takes center stage, it seems that everything else loses value, as if life itself had been reduced to the cause of the sorrow. But that's the trap of the mind, to focus on what's missing and forget what remains. The antidote is not to ignore the pain, but to learn to look in another direction. That's where gratitude comes in, not as a cliché, but as a daily practice that can change the weight of your sadness. The Stoics understood that the mind needs discipline to not fall into the abyss of complaint. Marcus Aurelius wrote every morning what he still had in his favor: the air he breathed, the opportunity to wake up one more day, the fact that he could act with virtue despite the circumstances. When you start to train gratitude, your view of life changes. It's not about waiting for big miracles, but about noticing what's already in front of you. The glass of water that quenches your thirst, the warmth of the morning, the message from someone who cared about you, the roof under which you sleep. They seem like small things, but they are the ones that hold the days. Sadness loses strength when you realize that you haven't lost everything, that there is still light around the pain. Gratitude is an act of rebellion against the inertia of the negative mind. It's easy to complain. Anyone can do it. But to give thanks requires courage, because it demands looking beyond the obvious, seeking value in what the ego despises as mundane. And although it sounds contradictory, giving thanks on difficult days is when it has the most power. A simple exercise is to start the day by writing 3 things you are grateful for. It doesn't matter if they are trivial or profound. A hot meal, a moment of calm, the strength you still have to continue. At first, it may feel mechanical, but over time it becomes a training for the mind. You start to notice opportunities to give thanks even in the midst of problems. Epictetus taught that true wealth is not in possessing much, but in needing little. Practicing gratitude in the small things reminds you that you don't need big events to feel meaning and satisfaction. That shift in focus lightens the weight of sadness because it no longer depends on unattainable external conditions. It relies on what you already have. Every grateful thought is a step that moves your mind away from the pit of despair. Sadness tends to tell you that everything is lost, that nothing has value. Gratitude responds that, even though there is pain, there is still much to care for. Cultivating gratitude doesn't eliminate the problem, but it does strengthen the heart to face it. It's like lighting a candle in a dark room. The darkness is still there, but you no longer feel blind. When you train gratitude, life stops seeming like a sum of deficiencies and begins to look like a fertile ground where there are still things that bloom. Every time you give thanks for the small things, you regain a piece of inner peace and subtract power from sadness. 5. Free your soul by moving your body. Sadness often feels like a weight crushing the chest and clouding thoughts, but it is rarely recognized that it not only lives in the mind, it also gets trapped in the body. That knot in the throat, the constant fatigue, the drooping shoulders, the short breath, all are signs that the emotion has taken physical root. Pretending to heal sadness with only positive thoughts is like trying to bail water out of a sunken ship without patching the hull's cracks. You need to involve the body because it stores and releases what the mind silences. The Stoics understood that the care of the body was inseparable from that of the mind. Seneca advised maintaining a balance between physical exercise and reflection, because a motionless body feeds gloomy thoughts. Movement is not just a superficial activity, it is a tool for emotional release. Each step, each stretch, each deep breath is a way to unlock the weight that sadness leaves trapped in the muscles. Think of sadness as stagnant water. When it sits still for too long, it becomes murky and dense. Movement is the channel that allows that water to flow again. Walking at a steady pace, even if it's just 10 minutes a day, can be more therapeutic than you think because it not only activates circulation, but it sends signals to the brain that you are willing to move forward, even if slowly. You don't need complex routines or expensive gym. You can start with something as simple as going for a walk at dawn, feeling the fresh air, observing the surroundings with mindful attention. You can also try deep breathing exercises. Inhale for 4 counts, hold the breath for 2, and exhale slowly for 6. This rhythm helps to calm the nervous system and reduces the tension accumulated in the chest. Science backs up what the ancients intuited. Exercise releases endorphins, chemical substances that act as natural painkillers for stress and emotional pain. When you move your body, you remind your mind that it is not trapped, that there is possible action even in the midst of grief. This simple physical change opens up space for mental clarity. Robin Sharma talks about the morning victory, dedicating the first minutes of the day to physical movement to awaken not only the body, but also the spirit. It's not about sculpting a perfect physique, but about preparing the mind to better withstand the emotional weight that the hours bring. If your sadness immobilizes you, start with something minimal. Walk around the room, stretch your arms, open the windows to let in light. Each physical gesture is a signal that you choose not to stay trapped. Little by little, that feeling of stagnation begins to loosen. Moving the body does not erase the causes of sadness, but it breaks the cycle that keeps it alive. It's a reminder that you're not completely at the mercy of your emotional state. You can act even if in small steps. Every time you get up and move, you not only strengthen the body, you also free your soul from the weight that holds it back. 6. Calm the storm by remembering, this too shall pass. In the darkest moments, sadness feels eternal. It seems like nothing will change, that pain will be your companion forever. But that is the great lie of emotions. None are permanent. Everything you feel, even the most unbearable, is as transient as the clouds that darken the sky today and dissolve without a trace tomorrow. Remembering this is not just a comfort. It's a mental strategy that the Stoics used to bear the weight of life without breaking. Marcus Aurelius used to remind himself that the nature of all things is change. Life is current and flow, he wrote, remembering that everything comes and everything goes, whether it's joy or pain. When you believe your suffering will not end, your mind falls into despair. But when you remember that everything flows, that nothing remains the same, you regain a little air to keep moving forward. The phrase, "this too shall pass," seems simple, but it is a powerful anchor. It's a reminder that the emotional state that burdens you today does not define your destiny or your identity. Sadness is a visit, not a sentence. When you repeat these words, you're not minimizing the pain, you're affirming that you won't let it rule your life. Imagine sadness as a storm over the sea. From the shore, it seems infinite, but if you watch patiently, you see the clouds move, the wind change, the sea regain its calm. You can't control the weather, but you can trust that no storm lasts forever. Emotional life works the same way. Epictetus taught that we have no power over external events, but we do over the way we face them. Knowing that something will pass does not eliminate the pain, but it allows you to endure it with dignity. It reminds you that you don't need to make definitive decisions under the weight of momentary emotions. A useful practice is to observe sadness as if it were a temporary visitor. Instead of saying "I am sad," say "I am experiencing sadness." This change in language helps you separate from the emotion. You are not the storm, you are just going through it. Modern science backs up this idea. Studies on emotional regulation show that labeling emotions, instead of merging with them, reduces their intensity. By naming what you feel, you activate the rational part of the brain, which decreases the dominance of the emotion. Robin Sharma advises having power phrases on hand for difficult days. "This too shall pass" is one of the most effective because it connects with a universal truth. Time transforms everything. It also helps to anchor you in the present. When the mind projects that the pain will last forever, it fills with fear. But if you focus on what you can do today, a walk, a call, a deep breath, you reduce the anxiety that comes from imagining an endless future of sadness. The pain of now does not define who you will be tomorrow. What you decide while going through the storm, that does define it. By repeating "this too shall pass," you reaffirm your will to stand, to resist until the sky opens again. 7. Write to empty your mind. Sadness feeds on mental disorder. Thoughts come and go uncontrollably, replaying scenes from the past, imagining disastrous futures, questioning every decision you made. It's like having a swarm of voices talking at the same time inside your head. Trying to silence them by force only makes them scream louder. This is where the power of writing comes in. Putting into words what you feel is like opening a valve that releases pressure. Seneca advised examining the day each night, writing down what you did well, what you failed at, and what you could improve. He didn't do it out of habit, but because he understood that the act of writing turns the chaos of the mind into something visible, something you can observe from a distance. When emotions remain in thought, they seem infinite and ungraspable. When you put them on paper, you see that they have limits, that they only occupy a few lines. Writing doesn't require talent or poetry, it requires honesty. Take a notebook and write exactly how you feel. Today, I feel empty. I'm angry. It hurts that that person is gone. Don't try to sound wise or strong. The rawer, the better. What you don't confess out of fear or shame becomes a hidden weight. When you write it down, it starts to loosen. A useful technique is uncensored writing. Set a 10-minute timer and write non-stop without judging what comes out. It's like opening a gate for the accumulated water to flow. In the end, you may discover that beneath the sadness there is anger, fear, or fatigue, and that gives you clues about what you really need. The simple act of handwriting has a therapeutic effect because it forces your mind to slow down, to order what was previously just a whirlwind. It's like sweeping a dark room. As you write, you illuminate the corners where thoughts you hadn't recognized were hiding. Marcus Aurelius filled his meditations with personal reflections, many of them never intended to be read by others. Writing was his way of dialoguing with his own mind, of reminding himself of principles when the outside world overwhelmed him. If an emperor needed to write to stay firm, why wouldn't you? Writing also serves to record progress. When you reread what you wrote weeks ago, you notice that emotions that seemed unbearable have already faded. This confirms that what you feel today is not eternal, and that although you don't perceive it day by day, you are progressing. Don't underestimate the power of a notebook and a pen. It's not just an exercise, it's a tool of liberation. Each word you put on paper is a gram less of weight in your mind. By writing, you don't make sadness disappear all at once, but you take away its power to hide in the darkness of your thoughts. And when sadness is no longer hidden, it stops controlling your life. 8. Close the comparison and look at your path. Sadness often does not stem from what you have lost, but from looking too much at what others seem to have. Comparing yourself to others is like opening a healing wound and scraping it over and over again. What makes this trap even crueler is that you almost never compare fairly. You take the worst of your life and put it next to the best you see in others. Thus, even if there is no real reason, you end up feeling inadequate. The Stoics warned against this habit of measuring one's own life with someone else's yardstick. Epictetus said that each person is made to play a different role in the great theater of the world. Looking with envy or resentment at the work of others is not only useless, it is also unfair to you, because it distracts you from perfecting the role that only you can play. Comparison steals energy and distorts perception. You see someone smiling in a photo and think their life is perfect, ignoring that you are only seeing a carefully chosen fraction. You forget that social networks are showcases, not mirrors of reality. It's like judging a book by its cover without having read the internal pages. Marcus Aurelius advised focusing on what is under our control, our actions, our decisions, our character. None of this improves by looking sideways. When you invest your attention in comparing yourself, you abandon the ground that you can cultivate, your own progress. A useful practice is to observe each time the comparison arises and stop it with a simple phrase, "That is not my path." Repeat these words until they become automatic. Not to despise the other, but to remind you that your battle and your destiny are different. It also helps to keep a record of your own progress, however small they may seem. A conversation in which you were more patient, a day when you got up despite fatigue, a goal achieved in silence. These small victories are the real point of reference, because comparing yourself with your own yesterday is the only measure that reflects real progress. Comparison is a silent thief. It steals your peace, your gratitude, and your attention. Every time it catches you, it feeds sadness by convincing you that you always lack something to be okay. But the truth is that your worth is not measured in relation to anyone else, but in how you choose to face your own life. Robin Sharma asserts that envy is the confession that we have stopped focusing on our own journey. And he is right. Every minute you spend wishing for what someone else has is a minute you lose building what truly belongs to you. Close the comparison. Look at your path. Sadness loses strength when you stop looking sideways and direct your energy to your own pace. There is no peace in the race to be like others. Peace is found when you decide to move at the rhythm of your own story. 9. Focus only on what you can control. Much of sadness feeds on fighting against things that were never in your hands. The behavior of others, decisions that have already been made, words that cannot be erased, twists of life that you did not see coming. It's like trying to stop the sea with your hands. You wear yourself out, you get frustrated, and in the end, the water keeps moving at its own pace. Stoicism is emphatic on this point. True emotional freedom begins when you distinguish between what you can change and what you must accept. Epictetus summed it up accurately. Some things are up to us, and others are not. It seems obvious, but most people suffer because they live ignoring that line. They become obsessed with forcing what is out of their reach and neglect what they can transform, their attitude, their habits, their words, the discipline they put into their actions. Every time you dedicate energy to what you do not control, you empty yourself inside. Every time you direct it to what does depend on you, you regain power. Imagine that you carry two backpacks, one with things you can handle and another with those you cannot. If you decide to carry both, you do not advance a single step. But if you leave on the ground the one you cannot modify, even though it remains there, you free yourself enough to walk. The pain you drag often is due to that unnecessary burden. Expectations about the past, resentments for what others did, fantasies of how things should have been. Marcus Aurelius, in the midst of wars and losses, repeated to himself that he could not govern the thoughts or actions of others, but he could the rectitude of his own spirit. That clarity allowed him to act with serenity even in the midst of chaos. It's not about resignation, but strategy. You stop wearing yourself out in impossible battles to focus on the ones you can win. A useful practice is to ask yourself in front of each concern, is this in my hands or not? If the answer is no, your task is not to solve it, but to train acceptance. If the answer is yes, stop complaining and take action immediately, even if it is with a small step. This habit cuts off much of the anxiety that sustains sadness. Robin Sharma often says that life simplifies when you learn to let go of what does not depend on you and commit to what does. Because while your mind is trapped in the uncontrollable, the present slips away. And the present is the only ground where you can act. Sadness loses strength when you regain control over your own inner space. You won't be able to avoid the storms, but you can keep the helm steady. The power you seek is not in changing the external world, but in mastering your response to it. Focus there on that small territory that is your mind, your actions, your daily choices. And that's where true Stoic freedom begins. Thank you for staying until the end of the video. If you watched the whole thing, comment, "I am Stoic," as our secret signal to know that you're a true student of Stoicism. Don't forget to subscribe and give the video a like if you enjoyed it. See you in the next video, and remember, keep cultivating your Stoic mind.